A study by Deloitte has concluded that 9% of radio advertising that was booked was not actually broadcast. The cost of this action or inaction amounts to 270 million rand. Audine Brooks of Deloitte's Advertising Broadcast Certification Service joins us in Brand Central to reveal the extent of this problem. Welcome, Audine.
Thank you.
Gosh, that's an amazing amount of money.
It is significant.
What is the extent of the problem, would you say?
Well, it comprises across the board. The nature of the advertising could be not broadcast, or broadcast in the incorrect time channel, or not wrong material being broadcast. If I take an example of to be brandless, a cornflakes ad being booked in the 6 to 9 channel on 5FM, and it's broadcast at 9:15. That advertiser certainly isn't achieving the brand exposure that they were after.
Why does this happen?
It's an operational inefficiency on a part of the media owner, in a scheduling process or in the planning process, in the placement process.
And what recourse does advertisers have?
Unless they subscribe to a monitoring service, then very little. And historically, there have been limited mechanisms available to monitor advertising and the way it's been broadcast.
But even if you do a post-campaign analysis and you say, look, it was completely flighted incorrectly, incorrect times, or maybe it's a material issue, that it's the incorrect material, surely the advertiser would have a foot to stand on to say, I need to be reimbursed, or whatever the case may be.
Well, firstly, a lot of those post-campaign analyses are based on logs, where we found that logs often aren't a true reflection of what's actually being broadcast. And secondly, it's too late. You know, the campaign's already run and the brand hasn't achieved the exposure that they were after.
But do you have a claim against the media owner, is the question.
Precisely. If an advertiser subscribes to a monitoring service, then they receive a certified report that we provide that is submitted to the media owners, who have become highly responsive in providing compensation either during the context of the campaign, which is primarily what the advertiser's after, or thereafter to provide credit to the value of the broadcast that wasn't executed accurately.
Gavin, in your experience, would you like to add anything?
I think the question for me is, I mean, there are a few costs. The first one is actually the cost of buying a specific media holding. But then how do you value that? Because if you're doing, for example, an ad which is Saturday sales and it runs at the wrong time, on the one hand you can say, well, I'm going to give you your money back for incorrect flight, but it actually can't actually value what the loss in sales will be. So how do you actually force the media owner, how do you get them to pay more than actually just the value of what the media buyer was?
And also, Gavin, just to add to that, the production costs for that specific ad.
Well, the broadcasters aren't being held responsible for that, as it filters back up the value chain, the costs that were incurred in the production of that ad. But they will reimburse to the value of that advert in terms of what it was booked at. So the particular time slot that I mentioned, between 6 and 9 on a breakfast show during the week, it obviously incurs a significant premium. And they will reimburse either in 2-to-1 spots or another spot at the same time channel, but they won't be held responsible for the production costs, no.
Well, then that really falls on the advertiser, doesn't it? Because what if you've produced a specific ad for a specific period that was not flighted?
Agreed, and that's the risk that they face in terms of not subscribing to a monitoring service. It's an opportunity cost of lost sales, of your brand not getting the exposure.
But I suppose what would happen for the media owner is if they are repeat offenders, that they lose credibility as a media, and the advertisers just move their money somewhere else. So not doing it properly from their side is a huge risk because reputation is everything.
Agreed, and that's where some of our clients have actually used our results not to claim for compensation back in spots or in credit, but have used it as a form of a negotiating tool or for discount or future advertising.
Have we seen a trend in radio versus TV? Is there specific media platforms that it happens more often? They're not, in your experience?
Well, I think radio has historically been a bit of a black hole in terms of being inauditable, whereas television certainly is more tightly controlled. And television, often the errors in broadcast are more a different program was broadcast as opposed to what was booked, where the advertiser may accept that because effectively they're still receiving the ARA exposure that they were after.
Why is Deloitte involved?
It really is an extension of Deloitte's audit methodology in being able to validate the extent that a client's ad spend is accurate or if it's wasted expenditure, as well as from a risk management point of view, that we can report back to clients on the extent that their broadcast was executed accurately and that their service providers are fulfilling their contractual obligations.
What's the response been like?
It's been good. It's been, we've been involved for about 18 months now, and now 5 of the major 10 radio advertisers in South Africa subscribe to a monitoring tool. So they certainly see that it's a credible value add to their marketing strategy.
Gavin, I think we've got only one minute left. You wanted to share a story with us of an incorrect flighted ad?
Well, I think that what happens is that context in advertising business is so important. It's not so much just that the ad doesn't appear, but if it appears at the wrong time, it can actually enhance your business or not. So one of the best ads I ever saw was an ad for an Ariel soap powder. It was in the UK when Monica Lewinsky was around, and I think it was Panorama, who then said, so Monica, can you tell me about that dress? And at that moment, the ad break came on for Ariel. So it was this brilliant. So context and missing context is sort of so fundamental to actually communicating the power of an advertising.
100%.
So time slots for me are really, really important in terms of enhancing the message.
We're going to have to leave it there. Thank you, Audine, for joining us. And Gavin, thank you for being our guest host this evening.